Welcome everyone to our office hours today. Today's topic is going to be BRC-20s with BTC Alchemist. As you've probably been in our previous sessions before, we're just diving into everything, all the small details that we tend to overlook, and all the small questions that usually come to our minds when we're diving into the rabbit hole that is BRC-20s. So today I have BTC Alchemist joining me. We'll be diving into how BRC-20s work, functions like minting, trading, buying and selling, and most importantly, where you have to go to find the best BRC-20 alpha. So I think right now we can just start with something simple. Just could you tell us in the simplest terms what you think BRC-20s are and how do they work on like a surface level?
Sure. And just to confirm, the recording is on, is it?
Yep.
Cool. So we all may have heard about BRC-20s or we're hearing about them in this session. There's been quite a lot of hype recently, including on a major TV network, CNBC, was talking about BRC-20s. So they may seem quite confusing, especially because Bitcoin doesn't have any smart contracts. So how is it possible that these fungible tokens can exist? So the goal today is to explain what they are and also give a walkthrough of how to do those things Poppy mentioned, and then touch on potential sources of alpha. So yeah, what is BRC-20? It is a standard for fungible tokens on Bitcoin, and it uses ordinals. So ordinals launched publicly in January of 2023, and this standard was released in March of 2023, so pretty recently. And it uses ordinals, it uses text ordinals in order to perform operations for these fungible tokens. It's called BRC-20 because it basically just took the ERC-20 term from Ethereum and it replaced E with B for Bitcoin. So that's the reason for that name, BRC-20. Each BRC-20 ordinal that gets confirmed on the blockchain is used for a different operation. It could be used to deploy a new token, it could be used to mint, or to transfer BRC-20 tokens. So I am going to share my screen to give some context here. Just a moment, please. Okay, so I'm sharing now, and Poppy, can you see that screen?
Yep, see it clear.
Okay, so we're looking at a Dune dashboard. It's showing we have 9.2 million total ordinal inscriptions to date. 1,500 Bitcoin were paid in fees for those. If we look at a related dashboard, this is for BRC-20, we see out of those 9.2 million, 7.6 million of those were BRC-20 ordinals, which is a huge amount. And 1,200 Bitcoin were paid in fees just to inscribe these BRC-20s. So that's to give some context about how popular BRC-20s have become since the launch. So each BRC-20 has a ticker of a maximum of 4 characters long. And in order to create a new BRC-20 coin, a deploy ordinal must be confirmed with that particular ticker. So if we look at an example, this is for Pepe, which is independent of the Pepe on Ethereum. So this is what a BRC-20 ordinal looks like. P is the protocol, which is BRC-20. Op is the operation. In this case, it's deploying the coin. Tick is the ticker, which is Pepe. Max is the maximum supply, and we see that here. And then limit is the limit per mint. and we see the limit per mint is 1,000. So the way this works is, sorry, there's some background noise here. The way this works is only the first deploy ordinal for a ticker is valid. So if somebody were to inscribe another ordinal just like this, and they use Pepe, but they put some other information here, it would become invalid. And how this works is that there are indexers, basically just these scripts that are running. They're scanning all of the ordinal data and looking for this information that conforms to the BRC-20 standard. And the first confirmed deploy ordinal for a given ticker sets the rules. All subsequent deploys for that ticker are invalid. So that's how it works with deploying an ordinal for BRC-20. And I'm thinking how much more I should explain. Yeah, I think I can talk about minting as well. So once the deploy has been confirmed, then anyone can mint up to the limit of this, in this case, 1,000 Pepe BRC-20s per mint. And a mint ordinal looks like this. It's very similar, except the operation is mint, and then the amount is any amount up to that limit that was specified in the deploy. So in this case, there's Pepe, and the amount was 1,000. I will also show, this is on the Unisat website. It's showing an overview of this Pepe token as an example. And we can see this is the deploy inscription ID. It's showing us the total supply, this 42 million, which matches up with what was set in this deploy ordinal. And all of that has been minted, the limit per mint, and we can see who actually deployed it, deploy time, the completion time. Completion time just means when the maximum supply was reached out of all of those mint transactions. And you can see the number of holders and then the total transactions for this BRC-20. So once the max supply has been minted, any future mints that for this particular ticker that get confirmed are considered invalid by these indexers. So it's important to note that basically anybody can inscribe these BRC-20 transactions, but you have to kind of conform to the standard in order for these indexers to consider your transaction to be valid. I think I'll explain one other thing before I take a pause, which is how transferring BRC-20s works. So we will look at an example. This is just a random wallet. And right now we're looking at the Pepe balance for this wallet. Now we have two types of balances, the transferable balance and the available balance that adds up to the total. When the Pepe is first minted, it's shown as an available balance by default. It cannot be transferred until the available balance is converted into a transferable balance. And so this is done in two steps. The first step is that a transfer ordinal has to be inscribed to this particular wallet in order to make the available balance into a transferable balance. So it looks like this. The operation is transfer, and you have the ticker and then the amount for that transfer. And the key is that it has to actually be inscribed to the wallet that has the Pepe balance in order to make that a transferable balance. Once that transfer ordinal is confirmed, it can then be sent to the destination address. So any transfer has two steps. The first step is you need to create the transfer ordinal to the particular wallet. And once that's confirmed, that transfer ordinal can then be sent to the destination wallet. So it's a two-step process in order to make the balance transferable and then actually transfer that balance. So I will pause here and turn it back to Poppy for the moment.
Yeah, a lot of great things covered right now. I did have a brief question on just now for transferring. You mentioned that it's two transactions, right? Similar to like approving a coin or token, as we do on ETH, right? That's for transferring any ordinal, or it could be a BRC-20 specifically.
This is only for BRC-20. This is only the way it works for BRC-20. And it's different from ETH in that it's not that you set the approval for all of the, in this case, let's say Pepe in the wallet, but each transfer ordinal specifies the amount that will be transferred. So in this case, this example is 3,000, right? So if we're using this wallet and that transfer of 3,000 Pepe resided in this wallet, once that transfer ordinal were sent to the destination, only 3,000 of the transferable balance would get sent out of this wallet. And then each time, any subsequent transfer, you have to specify the amount that you want in that ordinal, and then inscribe that ordinal, and then send that to the destination. So it's a stepwise process. It's not a set approval for all process. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So real quick, bear with me.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, so your main balance is shown. Let's say we're talking about Pepe. The main balance on that wallet is 722,000. Let's say you want to transfer 3K. You're going to have to then transfer a set amount into the transferable portion of that wallet. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a multi.
The one we're looking at right now already has
in order to
a transfer balance.
Okay, so it's customary to have a set amount that you have for transferable transactions, and then you can just keep some that are not regularly used to transfer.
I think it'll make more sense as we walk through the process with the marketplace, where I'll kind of explain what it looks like to have the transfers in the wallet and then to list those for sale.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. So yeah, I don't have any questions right now. I do see a question from Silva that we'll get into a little bit later. Yeah, feel free to continue on. I think we can just start going into marketplaces, right? Like buying, selling, trading.
Sounds good. So first we'll go over how to buy. Let's go here and refresh this page. So this is the Unisat marketplace, unisat.io/market. And by default, it is, so I'll explain what we're seeing. These are basically listings down here. By default, it's showing the ticker ORDI, which was the first ever BRC-20 created. If you want to view other BRC-20 tickers, you can click this button at the top left, and you can either browse, just look at, they have different sorting like deploy time, market cap, volume, some trending by volume. We can even just type in, for example, if we want to see Pepe, you can type in the search and here's Pepe. So we can click on that and we'll see these are the listings for Pepe, and I'll explain what we're seeing. So these are actual transfer ordinals that are for sale. So this particular one is for 5,000 Pepe, and we see the price here is 474 sats per Pepe. Sats stands for Satoshis, which is the smallest unit of Bitcoin, 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. And we can also see that in US dollars. Here we're seeing 13 cents is the rough equivalent of 474 sats per Pepe. Additional information we see includes this is the ordinal number for this particular transfer ordinal, and this is the wallet that is holding and listing this for sale. Then we see the total cost for the 5,000 times 474, it's showing this 2.4 million sats, or around $630 here. So that's how to understand what we're looking at here. And you can see that right now we're sorted by price from low to high. That's what I use when I look at this. And you can see these prices are gradually going up in sats per Pepe. If we want to buy this, we would click buy. And then I need to enter Unisat password. And now it's giving a summary. We would buy 5,000 Pepe at the price of 474 sats per Pepe. The total value is here. And we see that in sats as well as in dollars. And then we see the service fee paid to Unisat. And this was 1.6%. There's a deployer royalty that goes to the deployer of that BRC-20, 0.2%. And then there is the network fee, which is the basically the fee rate that we will pay when we purchase this particular transfer ordinal. We can customize this, and if we want, we could go to mempool.space if we want to customize that. And all of those added together equal the total balance. So you have the value for this particular purchase. We have the service fees, which includes the royalty, and then the service fee plus the royalty fee, and then the network fee, and all that adds up to this total. So if we were to buy it, then we would click confirm, and then it would come up in the wallet, and then we would sign that particular transaction. So that is how to purchase. I will next go over how to mint before taking another pause. Now, we just talked about purchasing, but there's another way that we can obtain BRC-20, which is by minting directly. Now, we're on Unisat's website. We were just in the marketplace section. Now we're in this BRC-20 section. And you can see, actually, this is the full list of BRC-20s sorted by the deploy time. So you'll see Ordi was the first one ever deployed, then Meme, Punk, and Pepe. But we can sort by in progress if we click this here. And we can actually see the progress of certain BRC-20s that have not yet minted out. So, for example, let's say we want to just use BLGA. So we can click on that. And here it's showing an overview. So we can see this BLGA has a supply of 9 million, 5.6 million have been minted. The limit per mint is 699. You can also see the deploy time. So this was a couple weeks ago. And you can also see the holders and the total transactions. So up here, you can see a progress bar, which is kind of interesting to note that the red portion is the amount of mint transactions that are in the mempool but have not yet confirmed. But for our purposes, we're not close to 100%. We don't have to be too concerned about that. So we could go ahead and mint if we want. And the way we would do that is to click mint directly at the top right here. And Unisat brings up this modal that has mint selected, the ticker is filled in. The amount they fill in, the maximum amount, which was $6.99, which we saw before, which is really nice. And here we can repeat the mint. So let's say we wanted to mint more than one mint ordinal. If we wanted 10, that would be 10 times $6.99 each. Then we click next, and we see this is showing what these ordinals actually look like. This is the mint ordinal. So we can just double check. We can see, yes, the operation is mint. The ticker is BLGA. The amount is $6.99, and there are 10 of them. So that all looks good. And we'll click next. Now Unisat will bring us down to the order details. If you were to actually purchase this, you would connect your wallet and your wallet receive address would show up here. Then you would select the fee rate here. Now, sometimes there are very highly anticipated BRC-20 mints that can spike up the fee rates. If that is the case, then you probably want to check mempool.space, which was covered in Ordinal's onboarding in more detail about what we're seeing here. You can check what are the current fee rates, and if you urgently want yours to get confirmed, you might add and you might increase the fee rate, and you can click custom and just input your specified fee rate here. But the important thing to note is when you mint through Unisat here, once you pay for your order, you cannot change your fee rate. So let's say we were to pay for this order and we had this fee rate of 58, and then the fees went up to, let's say, over 100. Unfortunately, once we pay for the order here, there's no way to change it. So that's an important point to keep in mind. Below, we see an overview of what we're paying. So I'll go through what we're looking at here. Sats and inscription, that we have 10 of these mint ordinal inscriptions, as you may recall, times 546. This is the minimum amount of sats or satoshis that have to be included with each of the mints according to Unisat. And then we have the network fee, which will change based on the fee rate. So we see that here. And you can also see in US dollars if that's a helpful reference. Then there's the service base fee, which is paid to Unisat, as well as the fee by size. They sometimes add additional fees. So those are the fees paid to Unisat. And then they give you a little bit of a round down of your total. And so this would be the total for our mint of 10, which would be 139,000 satoshis, or around $37. So if all that is in accordance with what we want, we could go ahead and submit and pay the invoice. And then once those transactions confirmed, depending on the fee rate, then we would have those mints added to our wallet balance for this particular ticker, BLGA. I think this is a good place to pause and turn it back to Poppy.
I will say it is very interesting just seeing that the conversion for minting is sats, and then just seeing like such a large number. But like when you scroll down to aggregate it all, I was like, oh, it's like $28. Like that's nothing. Like off the bat, I thought they were doing a lot more for some of these mints, just because they're on Bitcoin. But it's interesting to see that they're just as cheap, or sometimes even cheaper than ETH mints.
To expand on both those points, okay, because the experience that we've had recently, like we'll see that and we'll be like, oh, I'm just going to overshoot the maximum or the high gas by like 10, right? So it'll be 58 and you'll go put 68 and you think you're going to get into the block. Problem is sometimes the blocks are supposed to last 10 minutes, but they last 50 minutes and everybody's trying to pile into the same block, and all of a sudden the lowest transaction that's going to get through is maybe 120 sats. So sometimes it's good to overshoot by a lot if some mint is happening. Don't overshoot by a little bit, because I've gotten stung like that a couple of times lately, especially with BRC-20s, where everybody's rushing into mint at the end and your block's not getting picked up, and then you're just getting front ran by everybody. So because of what BTC Alchemist said, where you can't adjust your gas like you can on ETH, make sure you overshoot it by a lot, especially if it's a very high mint, because you're not paying that much more really. Sure, it's speculative. They might all go to zero, but I mean, if you're already paying 20 in gas, why not pay 50 and make sure you get into that first block and get your mints through? Because what happens is most of the time you're not getting that money back. You're literally selling it to a black hole. So if you don't get something in return for it, you're screwed. You're walking away with nothing.
Yeah, it's a fair point to be careful if it's a hot mint. Be careful about the fee rate you use, especially because Bitcoin has on average a 10-minute block time, but like Jinzo said, that really varies. It could be, up to 30 or even 60 minutes. So it's something to be careful about. But if you're not in a hurry, then you could even set a lower fee rate. So for example, if this is not an urgent mint, right now on mempool.space, the range is between 45 and 65. So, but if we scroll back, we can actually see, got down to 35 recently. I mean, if we're really not in a hurry, we could look back. I mean, it got down to 20 at this point. And sometimes you see like a very low fee rate actually in the range here in the yellow. It's not always accurate. Sometimes there's just, for some reason, the block producer selected a certain transaction for some reason. But my point being that if you're not in a hurry, you can set a fee rate. I don't know, like looking at this, you could set a fee rate like in the 20s if you're really not in a hurry. But it's the hype mints where you want to be more thoughtful about how high a fee rate you're going to set.
Yeah, so with that, my question would be, what would you consider a higher fee rate, right? Is it going like 20, 30 above the recommended sats, or just maybe even doubling it?
It really depends on the traffic around that time. So there's not a general rule. Some of these hype mints, like some of the folks in our community might recall, I think it was VMPX that got the fee rates up to 500 and 600 sats per VB. I mean, you can't predict something like that, but you can kind of look over the past several blocks and just try to extrapolate some sort of trend. There's really no predicting. That's kind of the tricky part about Bitcoin is, these block times are so long that sometimes there can be very large variances. But yeah, so it really just depends on, you have to just look at the historical recent blocks and kind of gauge what amount of hype there is for this particular BRC-20. So I don't have a set answer of like set it a certain number of sats per VB higher. It really would just depend on the market conditions.
Yeah, I mean, just gauging how it's going. And you said you checked that on mempool.space, right?
Yes, that is the website that's on the screen share right now.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'll be sure to drop these links towards the end of our chat today. Another thing I wanted to go over was just going through your transaction and making sure that everything looks proper. Some of the parameters that you mentioned were P, there's OP, there's tick, and amount, correct?
Yep.
So P was for protocol, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so naturally, obviously, we'll see there BRC-20 or anything else specifically?
No, it would only be BRC-20 for BRC-20s.
Okay. OP, which is the operation, since you're minting most of the time, it would obviously be mint. The tick is referring to the name of the ordinal, correct?
This is the specific ticker for the BRC-20 ordinal.
Okay. Yeah. So the specific ticker for the BRC-20 ordinal. And then the last would be the amount that you are minting on that specific task, you said, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to go over them because I know, obviously we go through transactions a mile a minute. So it was good to just take a step back and look at your transaction, make sure everything looks good. Yeah, I'm going to drop a little cheat sheet in chat in a second, just explaining these terms when you're looking through transactions. But I think we're at a good point to continue on to our next step.
Okay. Yeah, and there are these kind of open curly brackets and closed curly brackets for BRC-20 formatting as well. So now let's move on Okay, so we will move on to selling. So now we have gone over how to buy and to mint, and now we will cover how to sell. So we are back to Unisat's marketplace, and right now I have an example wallet that's connected, and let's see if, yeah, so we can see there are some inscriptions here in this wallet, and both of them have 0 available balance because already I've inscribed some transfers for them. We will use, yeah, so basically when you're on Unisat Marketplace, you have to connect your wallet. And then once you do that, then you can see your inscriptions from the My Inscriptions section. You can also see orders for this particular ticker, and then My Orders, which are specific to your wallet. So to list, I will go to My Inscriptions. I will use this ticker ZBIT as an example. ZBIT is the BRC-20 associated with the BTC machine community. And they've actually done a very impressive job to give tons of airdrops to many different ordinals communities. So we're looking at ZBIT. The first thing to do before actually listing is what I recommend to do is to bring up the particular ticker so you can see the listings in real time. And another thing I recommend is to hit refresh, because you want to make sure the data you're seeing is up to date, and there sometimes may be kind of data irregularities, or they may not give you the most up-to-date data. So I hit refresh. We're seeing the lowest price right now for ZBIT is 739 sats per ZBIT, or about 20 cents. So now I'll go to my inscriptions. It's asking me to enter my password again. So here we go. And for ZBIT, I will click list. And now we see that I already have a valid transfer ordinal. But if your wallet did not have any, or you needed to make more, you could click inscribe transfer here. And then Unisat would bring a pop-up, which you can't see. You would put the amount that you want to specify for that transfer, and then the fee rate, and then you would confirm that transaction. You have to wait 3 confirmations in order to be able to list your transfer ordinal for sale on the marketplace. One other point to note here is that it's showing there's a limit to the total value. The maximum total value that you can list on this marketplace at this time is 0.2 Bitcoin. So it's something to keep in mind when you specify how much of a BRC-20 you want to include in your transfer. But for ZBIT, we're not even close to 0.2 Bitcoin. I would select this 1279, and then I would click list. And now it's bringing up this page where it shows some data here. It's showing the price range for ZBIT within the last 24 hours, as well as the current price. But I never pay attention to this actually, because I've never seen this correct. It's showing 660 sats per ZBIT, but as we saw, 739 was the latest market price. So that's why it's important to refresh that page and just check yourself. Don't rely on what it's showing you here. So let's say I wanted to list it at 738, a little bit below the floor value. Then it would show me the total value which is the 738 sats per ZBIT times the amount in the transfer, and that equals this 944,000 we see here. And it's also showing the dollar value, so it's around $250 that we're seeing for that. And if I were ready to do this, then I would click list, and there would be a pop-up which you can't see, which is the Unisat wallet, and it would be an unpaid signature in order to list this. But it's important to note that we need to be thoughtful before we list, because we can't just change the price or delist it whenever we want. Anytime we want to unlist, we have to pay a transaction fee. So that's the kind of noteworthy thing about listing BRC-20 transfer ordinals for sale. So let's say, for example, I were to list the 1279 ZBIT for sale at that price, and it would go live. If I changed my mind and I wanted to unlist it, I would actually have to put through a paid transaction to unlist it. And then at that point, this transfer ordinal would no longer be valid. So that's the downside of, how to work with transfer ordinals, is that once you list it and unlist it, you have to inscribe a new transfer ordinal, and then wait those 3 confirmations and then list it again. So just to recap again, once you list a BRC-20 transfer ordinal for sale, if you want to unlist it, you have to pay a transaction fee. You have to wait for that to get canceled. You also cannot reuse that transfer ordinal, unfortunately. You have to inscribe a new transfer ordinal, and then wait those 3 confirmations. So that's some more information about how to list and some of the nuances related to listing. I think I will go over one other thing before pausing, which is, what if we want to just transfer a balance but not actually list it for sale? That you can do directly through your Unisat wallet. So you click on the wallet and you'll go to the BRC-20 section. You'll click on the BRC-20 that you want to transfer. In this case, let's click on ZBIT. And as you all know, I already have a transfer ordinal that's valid. So I could just click that one, click transfer, and then I would click next. I'd put the receive address, and it already has that transfer balance here that will be sent. I choose the fee rate, and then I would confirm it. Alternatively, you can also inscribe a new transfer if it's not applicable for this wallet. But if you ever wanted to, you could inscribe a new transfer here and just put the amount and the fee rate. So that is another way to transfer a balance without listing it for sale on a marketplace. So I'll take a pause there.
Wonderful. I definitely think it's pretty straightforward. For BRC-20s, are you only using the Unisat wallet?
For BRC-20s, yes, I only use Unisat because it's the primary decentralized exchange for BRC-20s that I'm aware of.
Got it. Are there other wallets that you know about that would work with BRC-20?
I mean, any ordinals compatible wallet. People might also remember this term Taproot. So it's a Taproot script compatible wallet. Any of those can custody BRC-20s.
Thank you.
They're all in there. He made sure to add a bunch of wallets in there in the field report.
Yeah. And if you're curious about it, you can go to the Ordinals onboarding field report. There are a whole bunch of different Ordinals compatible wallets in there. But the Unisat wallet's the only one that's compatible with the Unisat marketplace at this time.
One more note on the Unisat marketplace that I forgot to mention earlier, because LY almost got caught by this, and I know everybody is careful for scams and stuff, but there's a very close call that happened today. Unisats.io is the real one, but there is also Unisats with an S.io. That's a scam link. It's only one S extra in the link, and it's going to screw you up, so be careful with that. Make sure you're on the right one. I know we always repeat this, and we're always very careful, but LY has a lot of experience, and he almost got caught by that today.
Wow. Yeah, it's it's unfortunate that the scammers are out there and even trying to scam in that way. So appreciate you sharing that. Make sure that you're on the correct website.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a perfect call out. I will say for stuff like that, like when I'm interacting with websites frequently, I personally use Chrome. I'll create a folder on my bookmarks tab, and then I'll just list whatever it is I'm interacting with on that specific blockchain, and then just list the name so that I don't actually have to search for these websites, and you avoid that issue of going to a specific site. But yeah, if you're in chat and you're going to click on a link, just take the second to reread the address that you're going to, right? Just taking 5 seconds to read it, might save you a headache and a half. So yeah, great shout out there, Genzo. I think this is a good point to continue on. I think our next point of topic that we're turning into is where can we find our BRC-20 alpha, right?
Sure. So I can point towards some information sources that might be helpful. First, I'll talk about some directories. So let's see this one here. This is ordspace.org. And here, this is nice because we can see BRC-20 tokens. We can sort by name. We can sort by market cap. We can also sort by number of holders. So this is a nice directory to see BRC-20s. We'll note that the market cap that it's listing for all BRC-20s is 272 million, which is actually quite low in comparison to what it used to be. Another site is ordspy.com. I like this one because it has a visual chart. I like to see the visual chart of the price of these BRC-20s. And you can also, search by coins. Also put your Bitcoin wallet address in here if you want. And then there's BRC20insider.com. It's similar to the first one, but you'll note that the total market cap here is 246 million. So it's actually, there's a discrepancy between, we can't see anymore, but between that first one I showed and this one. So it's important to cross-reference a couple of these directory sources in order to try to get an accurate sense of the data. So, these indexers are imperfect, and but kind of more or less, the data seems pretty close among these sources. So these directories are some good sources of basic information about BRC-20s. You can also look at Unisat's BRC-20 section here. And if you go to this in progress section, which we saw earlier, you can kind of see if there's something really hot, then you'll probably see like a big red section, which are the transactions that are in the mem pool and pending confirmation. So sometimes if there's something really hot and trending, you can view it here on Unisat's in progress section. Other places to get information are Telegram groups. So for example, there's this BRC-20 data Telegram group, which is nice because it publishes within the last few blocks, it'll publish the hot mints and the trades that have been happening with some of the top BRC-20 movers. So this is BRC-20 data, and these links are in the field report for BRC-20s, the how-to guide for BRC-20s. And there's also this BRC-20CN Telegram group. This is a Chinese language Telegram group. So only if you can either understand Chinese language, or if you have Telegram Premium and you can use the translate feature, this could be useful. There's actually quite a bit of interest from users in China with BRC-20s. So this is another source of signal for BRC-20s. In addition to Telegram groups, there are centralized exchanges that support BRC-20. Some of the big ones are Gate.io, Crypto.com, OKX. There's also BitGet and Bitmart. And then another big one, Huobi, is planning to release support for BRC-20 soon. Beyond that, there are Discord servers. So obviously there's the Metaverse HQ thread on ordinals. There are other servers like the sub 10K ordinal server. If you hold a sub 10K ordinal, you can get access to their restricted channels. Bitcoin Frogs has an alpha channel. Meme, there's the Meme project, which is behind the Meme BRC-20 coin, as well as the Meme Machines ordinals collection, and they're releasing a new one. They're actually quite active on social media. They have some gated sections of their Discord. Ordinal Artifacts, which was founded by our fellow member, Mr. E. That's a sub 10K ordinals community that has a members only section. A couple other groups like Block Munchers or Ordinal Eggs. Those are some very early ordinals projects that have some holder only channels. So those are some examples. So yeah, there are a variety of sources you can go to for BRC-20 alpha or data or signal. There are directories. You can look at in-progress mints from Unisat. You can look at Telegram groups. You can go directly on centralized exchanges or peep their Twitter. Obviously, there's crypto Twitter. That's always a good source for information. And then there are the Discord servers that I had mentioned. So those are some different sources of potential alpha.
Wonderful breakdown there. Really appreciate you just going into the overarching view of where you can find information on BRC-20s, where you have to look for minting, which is mostly Unisat, and then really just getting those alerts and being ready, as things could pop off at any moment. So definitely join these Telegram groups. And I think you mentioned all this information is in the latest field report that you created, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. So yeah, I mentioned I made sure to drop a couple of links here as we were going through if you want to follow along. But yeah, if you guys want to dive in a little bit deeper into ordinals, be sure to check out those field reports. I know a lot of care and work was put into them. Yeah, I think this has been a wonderful conversation today. I know that we have a couple questions over in guest questions channel.
Yeah, I know that some of the walkthrough, Poppy, was quite kind of detailed. There may have been a lot of kind of nuances. So yeah, I mean, now is a good time, folks. If you have questions or something didn't make sense, I can kind of address those and even use the screen share. So yeah, feel free to ask.
All right. Well, I see that we have two questions, or we'll only have one question here by Stilva. Earlier on mentioned. He wanted to ask you, are there any legacy BRC-20s that you believe inherently hold a higher value than others because of some obscure arbitrary reason? Like first XXX BRC to mint or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, Ordi is kind of looked at as, yeah, I mean, it has a different status because it was the first ever BRC-20 deployed. But if we look at the chart, see if I can pull it up. I mean, it's been so volatile. So it's really hard to say kind of where it's going to go or the medium long-term prospects for Ordi. I guess that would be the case for any of these. I mean, BRC-20s essentially start as meme coins, but some of them, take on a life of their own. Some of them are associated with projects. Some projects even associate some like utility. For example, the meme coin, which I think was the third BRC-20 to ever be deployed. That was used in order to mint one of their collections, and then those meme tokens were burned. So yeah, there are some projects that are bringing utility to BRC-20s. Not many. I would say like the vast majority of them have a meme coin status, but some of these early ones, like Ordi, like Pepe, like Meme, they may hold a different status from the others, but it's really hard to say. I think there's a correlation between BRC-20 prices and kind of the broader BRC-20 market interest, and so I think it's also a question of how do we gauge the broader BRC-20 market interest over the coming months and period of time. So those are some of my thoughts on that.
Do you think that we're starting to see more BRC-20 tokens connected to communities? As you mentioned, I think it was the machines.
Yeah. I mean, Zbit, which is the one associated with BTC Machine, they actually kind of pre-minted the whole supply, and then they used a third-party platform in order to allow certain allow listed groups and individuals to claim that. So yeah, I do think that it exists, and there is a possibility that trend could pick up. And that will also depend on the strength of the broader ordinals kind of market, and we have seen like renewed spark in the ordinals market. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty common for projects to want to claim some sort of token, like Block Munchers. They had the Munch token MNCH, I believe, and they pre-minted all those, and then airdropped them to a good portion of them to their holders. So that's some information about about projects using BRC-20.
Awesome. Well, if there isn't any other questions, I just want to, come back around and say big thank you to you for organizing this. I know a lot of work goes into making sure you have these links ready. Screen sharing portion could be nerve-wracking, as I'm aware. But you did a phenomenal job, just breaking down the need to know and things to really just focus on when you're interacting with BRC-20s. We covered how it works. We talked about buying, selling, trading, as well as transferring, what kind of wallets you should be using, main platforms to use, where to find your BRC-20 alpha, whether it's directories, Telegram channels, mints in progress, all that good stuff. So yeah, look forward to the recording for those of you that missed certain parts. We will have that later on in the week. If you want to dive a little bit deeper, there is a couple of field reports over in our field reports forum. So just search in there and you'll be able to find all of the relevant posts there. And yeah, just a big thank you to everyone that tuned in tonight. If you have any questions or just want to continue the conversation, we always have the focus discussion, BRC-20s, ordinals, and all things in there. So feel free to hop in there and just keep the conversation going.
One final note, Papi, for those wondering, we have a giveaway on the allow list right now for an ordinals project, and it's really going to be hyped. So get in there and sign up for it. Get your Taproot wallets ready. It's going to be a good one to get started with if you guys aren't in the ecosystem already.
Which one is that?
We got whitelist for Bitcoin Bears, the new project they have coming out.
Oh yeah, Bitcoin Bears Cubs, right? Yeah, check that out. And
Exactly.
yeah, and thanks to Poppy for hosting this. Hopefully this was of value to people. I know BRC-20 can seem kind of complex or intimidating. Hopefully this kind of demystified it to some extent. So feel free to check out the recording of this. Feel free to check out the field report. If you found value, then feel free to give an emoji to the field report or a blessing. But more importantly, put this knowledge to use and bring it to our ordinals thread discussion. And feel free to tag me, BTC Alchemist, with any questions or comments.
All right, and that is a wrap. Thank you all, and we will catch you all in VC1. Have a good one.